Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really practical AI workflow that's all about helping you automate the daily grind, so you can get back your time, your energy, and focus on the stuff that actually matters. So let's be real for a second. Does this feel familiar? You start your day with big plans, you're ready to tackle the important projects. But then, the little things just start piling on. An email, a quick note you have to rewrite. And before you know it, it's the middle of the afternoon, and you feel like you've just been running in place, stuck in a loop. And this slide, it just nails the problem, doesn't it? Each one of these tasks, planning your day, organizing notes, it seems small by itself. But add them all up and they become these little anchors, creating this constant drag on your brain power. You don't even realize how heavy it is until you're completely wiped out. And that's a perfect lead-in to our first section, the daily repetition trap. Because that feeling of being bogged down, it has a real cost. And believe me, it's so much bigger than just losing a few minutes here and there. Let's dig into what's actually going on. See, over time, all that mental effort spent on tiny tasks leads to something called decision fatigue. It just gets harder and harder to focus on the big, complex problems because your brain is already exhausted from juggling all the little things. It's like trying to run a marathon after doing 1,000 little sprints. So, the big question is, how do we actually break this cycle? Well, the answer is to bring in a new kind of assistant, an AI partner that can do some of that cognitive heavy lifting for us. And when we say AI, let's be super clear. We're not talking about some sci-fi robot that's going to take your job. A better way to think about it is as a cognitive partner, a tool that's specifically designed to handle the boring, predictable, and repetitive parts of your work. And right here, this is the fundamental shift. By letting AI handle the routine stuff, you free up your most valuable resource, your mental bandwidth. And that lets you focus on the things only a human can do, the strategy, the creativity, the big picture problem solving. Okay, let's get practical. Let's break down the core of this whole system. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful two-step approach we're calling the generate and organize workflow. This breaks it down perfectly. You've got two halves to this workflow. On one side, you have a tool like ChatGPT, that's your idea generator. And on the other, you have something like Notion AI, which is your information organizer. One creates the raw material, and the other helps you shape it into something useful. So step one is all about generation. Instead of just staring at a blank page, you give ChatGPT a simple prompt, something like plan my day or break down this huge project for me. And boom, instantly you have a structured starting point. That initial friction, that where do I start feeling, it's just gone. Then comes step two. You take that raw output and you bring it into a tool like Notion. This is where you organize and polish everything. Notion's AI can help you rewrite things for clarity, create summaries, and turn a messy brainstorm into a real actionable plan. All that tedious formatting work is just done for you. And when you put it all together, you get this simple 5-step loop. You define your goal, generate the content, transfer it, and organize it. And then, and this is the most critical step of all, you review it. You are always the final checkpoint, the final editor. This system doesn't just save you time, it builds a reliable structure for your thinking. Okay, let's talk about the payoff. I mean, what really happens when you start using a system like this day in and day out? What are the real long-term benefits? Well, the first huge win is this, a massive reduction in what's called mental friction. You know that feeling of dread or resistance you get right before you have to sit down and plan something big? Yeah, that. When the process becomes this easy, that feeling just starts to melt away. You're literally no longer starting from zero. That blank page anxiety, it's a thing of the past. You don't have to stare at an empty screen wondering where to even start. The AI gives you a running start every single time, which turns these huge, daunting tasks into something you can actually manage. And over time, all these little daily efficiencies, they start to compound. You'll actually feel yourself having more focus, you'll manage your time better, and you're building this reliable, reusable system that stops you from having scattered notes all over the place or doing the same work twice. And what's really cool about this workflow is how adaptable it is. It's not just for one kind of person. Students can use this to plan their studying. Professionals can use it for managing huge projects. Creators can use it for mapping out their content. The basic ideas here can work for pretty much anyone who wants to get more organized. But hold on, before we wrap this up, we have to talk about the final piece of the puzzle. And honestly, It's the most important component in this entire system, because to make this work, you have to understand your role. Here it is, plain and simple. The AI is your assistant. It's not your boss. It's an incredibly powerful tool, but it's not perfect. Your expertise, your judgment, that's what guides the whole process. You have to be the one to review the output and make sure it's accurate, that it's relevant, and that it actually fits what you're trying to do. This is probably the easiest way to think about it. AI handles the how. It does the mechanical work of generating text and organizing it. But your job, the human job, is to provide the why. You provide the strategic direction, the creative spark, and the judgment that actually makes the work meaningful. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. When you outsource the boring, repetitive parts of your day, you get back your most valuable resources, your time and your focus. So the question becomes, what are you going to do with it? What will you create, or solve, or build when you're finally free to focus on what really, truly matters?